first response to the question, why did the ancient Egyptians stop building pyramids, might be that they didn't. Depending on your definition of pyramid, the Egyptians were building them from the time of Djoser's step pyramid to the time of the Kushite 25th dynasty in the 8th century BCE, which is a period of time lasting just shy of 2,000 years. Moreover, the Kushites didn't stop building pyramids when they stopped ruling Egypt, and there are pyramids in northern Sudan dating well after the Roman conquest of Egypt. But it really does depend on what we mean by pyramid. When we talk about the Pyramid Age, we're referring to the time, roughly 500 years, from the 3rd to 6th dynasties. But even by the time of the 5th dynasty, they weren't doing quite the same job that the pyramids of Khufu and Khafra were doing. There is no one dramatic answer to this question, but there are some pretty key things to keep in mind about the purpose of building pyramids, the method of building pyramids, and Egyptian history that can explain why pyramids stopped being so popular and why most of the pyramids still standing in any vaguely intact way were the earliest ones built. Pyramids really are an Old Kingdom thing. At that time, Egypt wasn't the soaring transcontinental imperial centre it would become in the New Kingdom, but to the Egyptians of the time, they were doing the best they ever had. The pyramids of Giza weren't just a testament to the divinity of the pharaohs, but to the ingenuity and resourcefulness of the Egyptians themselves. I've talked elsewhere about what a dramatic undertaking a pyramid was, a fortress for the dead, and a beacon that shone their spirit into the sky. Except that as history went, the pyramids would prove not to be so much fortresses as gigantic signs that read, "Free loot, get your ancient treasures here." And I'm not talking about 19th century archaeologists, but ancient plunderers looking to make a quick Theban or two. The distinction is fairly light. The word archaeologist comes from the Greek word for dirt pirate. Don't look that up. And most early archaeologists, and some modern ones, were tomb robbers with institutional support. But the important thing is that stealing from the pharaohs wasn't an invention of Europeans. During the so-called First Intermediate Period, tomb robbing was endemic. The central government was gone, and the Nile wasn't providing floodwaters as it once did, which meant people were going hungry in Egypt for the first time in generations. When the Middle Kingdom was established, major construction tended to be focused on fortifications rather than visible monuments, and the majority of pharaohs were entombed in chambers cut into the Theban mountains. Pyramids were built from time to time, but they'd stopped having internal chambers. Either they sat on top of burial chambers like a grave marker, or they simply existed as memorials with the tomb in a guarded location in the mountains. By the time of the New Kingdom, the idea of the pyramid was abandoned, with only the pyramid of Ahmose I, the founder of the 18th dynasty, existing as a last gasp of this form of royal memorial. And again, Ahmose was buried in a tomb nearby. The pyramid neither featured an internal structure, nor did it sit atop an underground tomb. The Valley of the Kings was a rather marvellous idea. Discreet burial sites in an easily guarded valley would ensure the protection of the royals and their burial goods for an eternity. We know that this was not to be. The New Kingdom had its time under the sun, but gave way to something new, and once again the tomb robbers took their chance. In my 9 misconceptions about ancient Egypt video, I talked about why the later pyramids are either mounds of rubble or actually underground, but in brief, they were for the look of the thing. They were often simply casing stones packed with sand and rubble, and the casing stones proved more useful elsewhere as time went on. They literally were not made to last. Not that I think the people who constructed them thought they'd ever be torn down, but if you're going to reuse building materials from a pyramid, it'll probably be the one you know serves no practical or religious function, rather than the ones of solid stone still serving the deceased pharaohs they were built for. The pyramid pharaohs were idolized during the New Kingdom, particularly Khufu, so it would be fairly blasphemous to start harvesting their tombs for materials. Labour is another consideration. The Grand Pyramids of the Old Kingdom made use of labourers with nothing to do during the flood season, but the New Kingdom had other ideas for what to do with those labourers. For one thing, it raised a lot more armies. As for its construction projects, there were cities and temples to build from the stone that would once have gone to the pyramids. Remember, in the Old Kingdom, even the houses of kings and gods were made of mud brick. It's not really fair to count the Libyan pyramids as Egyptian. I mean, the clue is in the name. Yes, they did take the technique for pyramid building, or at least the inspiration to build pyramids, from the Egyptians. But the Nubians were building their own pyramids at their distinctive steep angle before they ruled Egypt, and for centuries afterwards. So I guess that for now, the Pyramid of Ahmose is the latest confirmed Egyptian pyramid, and well, look at the state of it. Is there a future for pyramids in Egypt? Well, it's hard to say. Egypt, you might have noticed, is ramping up its image as a site of ancient civilization and excellent destination holidays. With modern techniques and materials, pyramids can be built that dwarf the ancient wonders. But for what purpose? Well, for one possible answer, look to Cairo-based architectural firm Cube Consultants and their award-winning concept, Tutera City. Cube envisages a space centre cum arcology, made with modern materials and a very futuristic aesthetic. Will it ever exist? I doubt it, and it wouldn't look like this if it did. Architects think big, builders think plausible, governments think cheap. But Egyptian revival architecture isn't a new concept, and if ancient Egypt is key to the modern country's image as presented to the rest of the world, we shouldn't be surprised to see more projects like this proposed in the years to come, and some may reach fruition. So, why did the Egyptians stop building pyramids? Pyramids started meaning less to them than other projects. That attitude changes if the will is there. Well, if we learned anything from the Avenue of Sphinx's opening ceremony, it's that ancient traditions can always be resurrected. Thanks for watching, and hello to all the subscribers who've joined us since my last couple of videos. It's been great to see my content reaching more and more people. Thank you so much. The big dreamers who envisage mountains where others see a plateau are my backers at patreon.com/armchairegypt. Thank you for your ongoing support. Until next time, my fellow armchair Egyptologists, life, prosperity, and health to you all. Thanks for watching. Head over to my channel for more, or click here to see what the YouTube demons think you should watch next. I hope you'll consider subscribing. If you'd like to support and collaborate on the channel with me, go to patreon.com/armchairegypt. You can also join my Discord community, there's an invite link in the description.